Hey, Slade, guess what? We got a kind of slow news day, and I'm glad for that.
Yeah, it feels like every week we've gone so far since we've done this grab bag. It's been absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
So,
but
thank God.
yeah, we just have four stories, and we're gonna start off with Jeff Keighley announcing his partners for the 2023 Summer Game Fest, and we have a lot of the big names that you would expect to be at something like this.
Yeah, like your Sony's and your uh, Xbox and
And
Square Enix, Active Blizzard,
your
Capcom, etc.
Hoyoverse.
Yeah,
Oh God,
this is definitely the new E3.
yeah, yeah. So this is the update. We are, I think, about like less than a month away, which is crazy. Very much looking forward to this event. No Nintendo, which
Yeah,
yeah, expected at this point.
yeah, Byron and I actually have a bit of a take on that. We believe that we might not see a Nintendo Direct until this September, which is crazy considering they have no announced games, which we'll get into that
Yeah, well,
later.
we're gonna get into that lowly fucking slide, but yeah, like an exciting list: EA, Disney, Razer, Steam, of course, Steam, big Steam Deck, Samsung, Sega. Maybe the Summer Game Fest is where we get more details on the Sonic Frontiers free update LC.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Mr. Keeley at the bottom over here has a who are you most excited to hear an update from? Well, there's one thing you aren't going to be fucking hearing an update from, and I'm sorry, Slade. It's it's Silksong.
That's right. Silksong recently just got an update on Twitter from Matthew Griffin from Griffin Mata. Hang on, just quick update about Silksong. We have planned release in the first half of 2023, but development is still continuing. We're excited to show how the game is shaping up, and it's gotten quite big, so we want to take the time to make the game as good as we can. Expect more details as we get closer to release. So basically, something happened and they can't release this game as quickly as they initially wanted to.
Yeah, because
So,
if you remember, this is part of that big Microsoft 12-month showcase, which every passing week is biting them in the ass for doing that.
yeah.
But
Right now, it seems to have aged very poorly, but
absolutely. But
at this point, it is what it is. So, like,
yeah. Now, a concern I have seen people have with Silksong, and it's mentioned in the tweet from Matthew Griffin that quote it's gotten quite big, and a concern is that maybe Silksong is gonna have some feature creep to it, and maybe like the game is getting too big for its britches. What is your thoughts on that take, Slade?
I'd be inclined to agree that that might be the case, but I don't know. I have faith in the Team Cherry devs,
Yeah.
so I think it's going to be just fine. It's going to be great, even.
Yeah, like I will say though, an example of that happening was I don't know if you remember this game, Slade, Sports Story from the Golf Story developers. That was like the thing besides Silk Song people were asking for at Indie Worlds. That
Yeah,
game apparently also had a case of feature creep and game creep, and that it was way too big and it did not review as well as Golf Story did.
yeah.
So I can see why people have that concern, but now when do you think Silk Song comes out now?
Putting me right on the spot, are you? Because I feel like
Yep.
any prediction I make is just gonna flat out be wrong. I'm actually predicting middle of 2024.
But wow, that would be man.
At
I
this point, the devs have not done anything to inspire confidence that the game's gonna come out this year, in my opinion. And even though they're talking about the game's got quite large, we have a completed like build or whatever, I still am just not confident in terms of like how far along they are in the development process. If they've been absolutely radio dark on it. Like, there's been no word on this game for like the Xbox conference presentation thing was like the first we heard about it in
Yeah,
over like 2.5 years.
yeah. Then I
And then
think
we haven't heard another thing about it until just now. And
well,
it's
I
not
think it
even
was.
any
I
footage
think
or
like
anything
there was
specific.
another trailer at like the September Nintendo Direct after the Xbox showcase last
It
year.
was largely the same trailer.
Yeah,
So
largely the same. But yeah, like this also just goes to show we talked about it earlier this year that Jason Schreier tweet that like game developer times are getting longer and longer, even for the
yeah.
indies, which is it's both great and not great at the same time. If you get what I mean by that.
Yeah, I think it's great that the game developers are taking their time and whatnot. But at the same time, you know, the wait, especially when it comes to like the announcement stuff like that,
Yeah,
seem to be taking quite a while.
like Schreier said, like a game being developed around now is probably being developed for the next console, or that is starting development relatively like nowish, is going to be for the next generation of consoles, not for this generation. Which, but speaking of big things and not knowing when they're gonna be happening, this one was quite a shocker. Private Division are partnering up with Game Freak for an upcoming action adventure game codenamed Project Bloom.
That is correct. So, in a twist of events, Game Freak is going to develop a non-Pokemon title for, I believe, the second time in the last, decade or so,
Yeah,
with a very promising, developer in Private Division.
yeah. What games have they made? I actually don't know what games they've made.
Most prominently, and this is a game I'm actually a pretty big fan of. They published The Outer Worlds,
Ooh,
which is
okay,
the former Obsidian team that made Fallout New Vegas.
okay, interesting,
So
interesting.
I think they've also, published quite a few other games. I think there's gonna be some pretty interesting stuff here. I think After Us is the last game. Mother and After Us is the last game that they published, which
Yeah,
looks pretty good, all things considering. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll just have to see if Game Freak with actual modern hardware. I'm sorry for the Switch, but it doesn't really count in my opinion.
yeah. That's fair.
And take a strike at knocking a game out of the park.
Yeah. Well, we
So
we do have this beautiful concept art, which looks gorgeous. It looks pretty good. But
yeah, I'll say.
yeah. How much of Game Freak are going to be on this game though? We don't know if they're going to be a big part of this game or if they're going to be just a tiny part of the game, considering obviously the gigantic Pokemon machine at this point. Because it's a
Yeah.
machine.
Right now, obviously, this is being met with a lot of skepticism for very good reason, in my
Yeah, it
opinion.
could not anything on Private Division, on more so on the Game Freak side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with the skeptics.
Yeah, and who knows when we're gonna see this game again? But this is some very interesting news because it's like, wait, Game Freak are working on something not cartoony and not Nintendo, not
Yeah,
Pokemon, huh?
it's definitely a different change of pace for them, which, again, this is fantastic news
Yeah,
to get them out of the thumb of Nintendo, and maybe they could get some real developer experience developing on some real shit.
yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what they need to break out of their quality funk. Who really knows?
Maybe, but we'll see what this DLC that will be coming up for Pokemon. And of course, the biggest story of the week, technically a two-parter story. It's the Nintendo sales numbers, our favorite topic to talk about here on the show. So obviously, as always, I'm going to be like, holy crap, the playing cards are going fucking bananas, going up 105.1% fiscal year over year. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. So let's go over some of our major takeaways before we get into like the specific numbers. there's a lot of emphasis on the success of the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is box office to say the least.
Yeah, I believe it is like I think it's like the 11th animated movie to make like over $1 billion or something like that.
Yeah, and we're also seeing a lot of that success trend towards the Mario titles on Switch,
Yeah, we
which
will.
Byron and I both pretty much expected.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. And maybe there is a thought like, oh, maybe Nintendo should have released a game around the Mario movie. Well, maybe
Yeah,
not.
I think that would have been very pretty. Well, no, I know Tears of the Kingdom's probably their number one priority for games right now.
Yeah, so kind of odd timing, I guess, if they wanted to make a like a game, not like a Mario movie game. We don't need that. We don't need that. No, no, thank you, please. No Mario
Yeah,
movie
I
game, but
really
like
hope
a
not.
Mario game around the time of the movie. But it seems like they don't need it. They don't need it to do that. They didn't need it.
Well, it's not whether they need to do that, it's whether they want to take advantage of this clearly very popular movie to get even more money in their pockets. I don't know, call me crazy. But yeah, like I said, the movie was like delayed initially, so that's probably why the movie came out so close to Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, but still was a big success for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Big
So
success for them.
overall, let's go ahead and go over some numbers, Byron, if you want to go ahead and get us started
Yeah,
on that.
numbers. So, first off, of course, the playing card numbers. I will forever go haha to that. So net sales are down 5.5% overall, with of course, once again, the Americas being the top region for Nintendo at 43.8%. Of course, the Americas are holding up the Nintendo, huh?
Yeah.
uh, so the Switch OLED, interestingly enough, got a boost compared to the other bits of hardware, having a 58.8% increase in sales fiscal year over year, going from 5.8 million to 9.22 million. And keep in mind, everybody, this is before Tears of the Kingdom's OLED. So, because this
We're
only
expecting
covers
that
till
number to
March.
climb.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, Switch OLED's getting the big numbers. Splatoon 3 selling 10.6 million units total this fiscal year. Nintendo Switch Sports shocking me personally with selling nearly 10 million units itself. Which that game was like feature like half baked and still kind of is to an extent. But
Yeah, I think that game would have been vastly more successful if they had just waited until they had all of the gameplay and stuff put into it
yeah.
on launch. It's just one of those kind of unfortunate
Yeah.
situations where they felt like they had to make a quick buck, which is weird considering they put it in a pretty packed launch window. Because there's a lot of other titles at the time, like Splatoon 3 and others.
Yeah.
I think with the drought that we're currently facing, Tears of the Kingdom just came out.
Yeah.
But there's no announced future titles, which Byron will get into that
Yeah,
in a bit.
we will actually I will just
That
scroll down
I
towards
feel
that
like a
real quick.
completed Nintendo Switch Sports could have fit into pretty well. So
Yeah,
I think
so
that's a missed opportunity from Nintendo's
hey,
part.
but yeah, real quick, yes, Slade mentioned it. Yeah, this is our examples of announced Nintendo titles. Now, obviously, we're covering this right as like Tears of the Kingdom is launching, which Slade has been ever so much enjoying. We're not going to say anything more on that, but you've been having a good time with that game, I've heard.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's in the GOAT conversation.
Pikmin 4 is coming up in a couple of months. Of course, we're both excited for the new Mario Kart waves, if Wave 4 is any indication. And then, of course, the Pokemon DLC is coming whenever that comes.
And that's it. That's everything
Yeah.
that's announced.
Yeah, that's it for right now. And obviously, besides the Tears of the Kingdom OLED, but
So, turning this announced page into speculation for what I thought was going to be a thing for Nintendo. I don't think we're going to get a direct in June or anything either, which is kind of crazy considering they don't have anything announced. So I'm expecting them to ride the success of Tears of the Kingdom all the way till the fall.
yeah.
which is kind of a crazy plan that I don't think is going to be very successful for them. But
Yeah, like
Nintendo's kind of made a lot of decisions like these, in the past, especially because, again, I already brought it up. I think Switch Sports could have 100% used a delay to get all the content on there first
yeah,
before they shoved it out there. I think the game probably would have been a
yeah.
lot more successful. I mean, I guess
Or
9 million
yeah,
units is successful, but
or call me a little crazy. We saw how many Nintendo titles were released in the first like 3 months of the year. Maybe some of those could have been pushed back to the fall.
yeah, space them out a bit. Obviously not Fire Emblem Engage. I think opening the year with that title was a pretty decent choice, though. I
Yeah, that was
personally
fine.
think that
I'm gonna say it.
titles like that do better in the summer than they do at any other point of the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. They probably should have pushed back the Kirby remake because
Yeah,
it's less than a year between Forgotten Land and Return to Dreamland Deluxe. So I think that new Kirby game could have afforded a little bit of a pushback to the summer or maybe the fall.
possibly, but I think for Nintendo to see like their quote unquote best success, they should have a major title coming out every 2 months,
Yeah.
which that's kind of what they're doing so far. So they have Fire Emblem Engage beginning of the year. 2 months later, they had the Kirby remake. Now they have Tears of the Kingdom, and another 2 months we're getting Pikmin 4.
Yeah.
So
Which
I feel
hopefully
like they're adhering to that strategy. They just don't have the stuff beyond July announced yet.
yeah. Well, besides some DLC, which I bet at least for the Mario Kart DLC, at least for Wave 5, maybe not Wave 6, but Wave 5, I feel like we're going to get another one of those social media drops where it just is like, hey, here's the track list. It's going to be coming out in like a week or so. Here you go. Look forward to it.
Oh yeah, and we would be remiss not to include Metroid Prime Remastered in that as well, because it's kind of funny considering that game's actually in the Game of the Year conversation, and it's
Oh,
a remaster.
yeah, we'll get into Metroid Prime Remastered a little bit because I have some thoughts on that sales potential real quick. But yeah, speaking
Yeah,
of Metroid Prime Remastered, it being digital only for a hot minute, Nintendo's digital sales are hitting nearly 50%, going up 5.6 points, or 12.7% year over year, inching ever so closer to overall just at the baseline of being at 50%.
that's correct. So, like Byron was stating overall, in the past few times we covered Nintendo's numbers, digital sales are only going to go up.
Yeah.
This is not surprising by any means. We'll probably see a lot more digital first releases like Metroid Prime Remastered. I think they're testing the waters with that. Though there's probably also a bit of a shortage in regards to
The cartridge
the
parts or something.
cartridges. Yeah,
Well,
I
no,
don't know.
they
There's
had to
probably a
save them.
billion reasons why that happened.
Well, they
But
had to save them all for Tears of the Kingdom, don't you know?
true.
True. True. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have Tears of the Kingdom sales numbers. That will be the next time we talk about Nintendo news coverage. But yeah, some other stuff. Nintendo are apparently going to be opening a store in Kyoto, Japan in October, which that'll be cool for those who live in Kyoto or travel to Kyoto. There you go. You can have your own Nintendo store. And let's have a talk real quick about sales. So we have three new entries, four new entries into the million seller Nintendo list. So we have Fire Emblem Engage at 1.61 million units, which I don't know if it's sold less than three houses in the same time period, in the same like
Yes,
3 month
that
period.
has three houses by this point. Was already over 2.25 million sales, and it was on its way to 3 million.
Yeah,
I think three. I think tier or no, I'm sorry. Fire Emblem Engage is definitely underperforming that.
yeah,
Um,
like
it's still obviously very good for the series because, again, Fire Emblem is perpetually a 600,000 to 400,000 seller. up until Fire Emblem Awakening. So everything that's like more than like that million sales figure is only good for the series. It ensures that it will continue into the long term.
Yeah, a thought that I've heard, and you could correct me, Slade, about this, but I've heard that like people like the gameplay of Fire Emblem Engage more than Three Houses, but the story elements aren't there in Engage compared to Three Houses and all the like
Yeah,
social aspects.
it's not even close when it comes to the story element because Three Houses, you know, featured its story along like three, technically four different paths.
Yeah,
That there's a lot of like politics and in-game lore and whatnot. Whereas Fire Emblem Engage, for better or worse, is a very cookie cutter Fire Emblem plot. Uh, evil mage wants to resurrect evil dragon to destroy the world.
yeah, because wasn't Engage supposed to be an anniversary title or something like that? It feels like
feels like it has all the previous Fire Emblem like main characters as
Yeah.
well as some of the most series popular characters and like the emblems and stuff.
Yeah,
like
because
that.
didn't
But
Engage
like
get
I said,
yeah? Because didn't Engage get like delayed, if I remember correctly, or no?
no, I
No.
thought it got announced and then came out immediately in January.
Oh, yeah, true, but
Yeah, I don't think it got delayed by
But
any stretch.
maybe
But it does feel like it should have been an anniversary title, which I think was 2 years before. But we had Fire Emblem
I think Warriors or something like that.
Three Hopes, or whatever the Warriors game.
Yeah, God, one of the most forgettable Nintendo games of all time.
Yeah, it's up there with Age of Calamity for sure.
Yeah,
Forgettable as hell.
But yeah, maybe combine the social sim and story aspects of Three Houses with the gameplay of Engage. You got a Fire Emblem cooking.
I mean, I feel like you either go one direction or the other because Engage is very much more in line of like the older Fire Emblem titles, where it's kind of an extremely linear story overall.
Yeah.
Again, it's your cookie cutter Fire Emblem plot. Evil mage resurrects dragon. That's the plot of literally like 3/4 to almost
God damn.
Like 5/6 of all the Fire Emblem titles.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's a lot to be desired there.
Yeah.
But not even just that, but like the gameplay is also different. There's not as much customization. Three Houses, for better and worse, Three Houses' ability to customize every unit to whatever you wanted made the game infinitely more replayable. Engage doesn't have that same level of replayability. So
fair enough. Fair enough.
I think that's why Three Houses is probably more successful overall.
Yeah. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, that aforementioned game, it sold 1.46 million units in like I think a month and a half or something, which is good for Kirby. Kirby's a relatively niche franchise. It's not as niche as like let's say Xenoblade or a Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
But yeah. Bayonetta 3 with at the very bottom barely inching over 1 million.
Yeah,
Barely.
which finally broke the million barrier. It's kind of weird because we thought it was going to do it a lot sooner, but I guess it's just one of those things where it's like the Bayonetta franchise seems to be pretty niche for the most part.
Yeah, and then Metroid Prime Remastered, 1.09 million units,
which is obviously massively successful considering this game came out at the beginning of February.
Yeah,
and it was digital only. This is pretty good for the Metroid franchise overall. It shows that there's still a demand for the 3D Metroid titles, not just the 2D ones like Metroid Dread.
Yeah, I will point a few things out. First off, 5. I think that's 50. I think that's like no, that's like I think 500,000 or something like that. Yeah, not great, not great. Most of the sales obviously are coming from international for Metroid at 1.04 million units. Paltry numbers in Japan. But also, potentially hot take, they shouldn't have shadow dropped Prime Remastered.
Yeah, I felt like it would have done better with a announcement leading into its release and some advertising.
Yeah, get some marketing out there.
Yeah, but that's what's even more insane to me, that for the most part, it's performed out well here in the West this well with zero advertising and it being literally dropped on us. And like I said, like believe it or not, the game's actually in the Game of the Year conversation,
Yeah,
which is pretty insane. But that just goes to show we haven't had a whole lot come out so far.
yeah. Well, again, I've and again, like Nintendo has this like gap in like time that we're in the unknown. Maybe they could have fit Metroid Prime in like let's say the summer in like a July in like not a July, maybe like a early September or something like
I
that.
think they just wanted to put it out there because it was ready to go, and it didn't make sense for them to delay it. But at the same time, I do agree that the game could have waited a bit. It could have, used some damn advertising.
Yeah, some
But
some goddamn advertising, yeah. But
that's neither here nor there. I'm not an expert by any means.
yeah. All right, so we have one other big thing to talk about, and that is the investor Q&A because there were a few interesting points that were made during this Q&A, Slade. So lead us on to
All right,
what were some of
so
these?
we'll start with what we touched on briefly earlier with the first question.
Mhm.
They were asking what the impact of the Super Mario Bros. Movie is going to have on expanding the number of people that have access to the Nintendo Switch as well as other Nintendo and Mario related IP.
Mhm.
Obviously, for I'm going to give you summarized answers. I'm not going to read it word for word.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Mario movie sold buku bucks, right? It just
Yeah.
went absolutely insane. And he says as much. So, obviously, they're already seeing a results yield in terms of like Mario titles. Again, we don't see that during this fiscal like results
Or
here.
yeah. Yeah, it will be
We're
like
going to
towards
see that at the end of the next quarter.
yeah, which will be really interesting to see because we already have some crazy numbers. Like Mario Kart sold almost 2 million units this quarter alone, and some of these other Mario titles like Super Mario Party 350,000, Mario Odyssey 550,000, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury 560,000, including me. I'm one of those.
Yeah, and
But
I imagine a lot of that happened
yeah,
within the week that the Mario movie released, and we're only
that
going to see that number go way
yeah
up.
that and also there was a Mario sale I think right before the movie came out of like there were like some
Yeah.
Mario games that were on sale on the eShop, which is how I bought Bowser's Fury. So yeah, but we're gonna see some big numbers like towards yeah at the next fiscal numbers that we see. So continue on, Slade. Continue on.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to question two,
Mhm.
and get used to seeing this phrase a lot. You have stated that the goal of extending the life. You have stated you have the state. Sorry, I'm butchering this really bad.
Slade.
You have the stated goal of extending the life cycle of the Nintendo Switch. How much has your confidence in this goal increased at this present time? They talk a bit more about the Mario movie as well as the release of Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom and software.
Yeah.
But essentially, this is going to go into the next like 3 or 4 questions. They actually talk about this goal a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, it seems like their goal right now is to not say anything about their next generation console until
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, that's the big overall theme of this Q&A. Like, when's the next system? When it happens. That's
Yeah.
basically it.
Yeah, that seems to be like the big thing. Like Byron was saying, they seem to pushing on the idea that their goal right now is just to make the Switch last as long as possible. But you see those announced titles that we went over earlier. I think they're going to need a lot more software in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
Again, Tears of the Kingdom. It remains to be seen how successful it is or isn't going to be. But Byron pointed out an interesting point that we were discussing before, like we started recording the episode, that sequels tend to do worse on their platforms than the original titles.
Yeah, like we have
for
a
the
few
most part.
examples on the Switch, like Fire Emblem 3 Houses to Engaged, Splatoon 2 to 3, Super Mario Party to Mario Party Superstars. So like and that's always been a thing no matter the console, whether it's like the PS2, the Xbox 360, PS3.
Yeah,
So
obviously, you have your outliers. Obviously, with like the franchise like Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry 3 was the best seller of that
yeah,
franchise
or a
by
funny
a long
one.
shot.
Yeah, or a funny one. Mario Party 7 outselling Mario Party 6.
Yeah, but that's not standard for the most part.
Yeah,
99% of the time, regardless of a game's quality or not, sequels tend to just do
yeah,
worse than
and
their predecessors.
yeah, obviously they under the circumstance we think the release global success of the Mario movie will have positive impact. Add to that the May 12th release of Tears of the Kingdom, and we are experiencing very good tailwinds in the 7th year. Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom will certainly help for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
I imagine at minimum by the end of the year it'll probably sell 10 million units.
yeah, I would be shocked, and they're going to be making more money on that because of the I didn't think it would happen $70 price tag.
Well, I told you, Byron. Like, well, let's not beat that horse to
Yeah, yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah.
So they discussed some other things about the Switch, like they want basically they're asking hardware units seem to cap out around 140 160 million units.
Yep.
How do you plan to break that barrier? They give you some nothing burger answer with, oh well, we're advertising the Switch through opening Super Nintendo World in Japan and the United States and the Mario movie again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing where they bring up the movie whenever they fucking can. Like,
Yeah, and
obviously its success is very good, they should beat their like chest over it, but
yeah,
like that's not going to help the Switch break that 140 million to 160 million units like
yeah, like and in the
threshold.
console space, it seems like the hard cap is around 300 million units or less in totality. Like
Yeah,
considering Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo.
at that point, there just needs to be more people on the planet.
Yeah. Or more people that, or more people that get converted to being video game players.
Yeah, or more people that buy multiple Switches, which is already a thing too. So
Yeah, so buy more.
yeah,
but of course they also mention Nintendo Pictures, which is their Nintendo's in-house like animation studio, and of course Nintendo Systems with DNA, which could help with the next generation, at least with like maybe an account system or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I imagine we'll probably, at the very least, our biggest takeaway from all the Nintendo Switch related questions is no new console until next year at the earliest. They're probably not even going to announce it until Byron says this holiday season. I actually don't even think they announce it until next year.
yeah, that I don't think they go that long without the next system being known. That would be we'd be in decade of the Switch.
Well, I
or
think they want
nearly
to
that.
ride the tailwind of the Mario Bros. Movie and Tears of the Kingdom as long as they can before they'll be like, okay, we're making a new console. Because
Yeah.
typically when companies announce new consoles, softwares for the current platform start to die down.
Yeah.
Because everybody starts saving for the next console and like, oh, I want to buy the next console and the games on the next console.
Yeah. Which I feel like we are right there at the edge of that.
Yeah, I think that's why they're keeping so hush hush about it. They want everyone to buy Tears of the Kingdom on Switch.
Yeah, which
right now.
Yeah,
so
which they
can't
even
have
mentioned.
Anybody knowing that there's another console coming.
Yeah,
out.
which of course they mentioned the $10 higher price. And speaking of prices, something interesting that Furukawa mentioned in question 5 was this funny quote. Currently, there are no plans to reduce the price of our hardware during this fiscal year. So, yeah, I think, ladies and gentlemen, an unfortunate thing for the budget-minded consumers. I think we are out of the era of there being console price drops. Yeah, I know, Slade. Shocked.
Yeah,
Shocking.
absolutely stunned. Like inflation's not currently happening at the moment.
but yeah, and of course, like I know some people have said Nintendo should drop the prices, and that's how they get to their, that's how they pass the DS and the PS2, which they probably would with a price drop. But obviously, Nintendo likes making money per console, and they even mention, the yen is weak, so we still have to pay more. We are ensuring our parts procurement far enough to in advance to ensure stable production. So costs are higher on that end, and inflation and foreign exchange rates and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the last question's like, oh, Lamau, the NX. The NX will
which,
provide more later.
Yeah, the NX question was actually kind of out of left field for me for the most part, considering that I guess it's just like speculatory stuff for like the next console. Like, do they have a code name in place, and
Will
how
it?
much do they think the NX code name really impacted the Switch's initial success? Which I don't think it didn't impact at all. I think there actually was quite a bit of impact from like the NX being like announced and stuff.
Yeah, God, if you weren't there for that time, it was fucking terrible to deal with NX speculation. Fuck. Oh, that was so terrible. You remember those days, right, Slade? The NX speculation days? God.
Yeah, I remember those.
God, we're gonna be heading towards something like that soon, and I'm terrified. I am terrified for that. But yeah, Nintendo said, yeah, we're gonna have a down year, 15% decrease. And yeah, it's gonna be a pretty silent year, I think, for Nintendo, outside of maybe a Nintendo Direct we get in September. Whatever they plan to do at Gamescom, like we covered last week.
Yeah.
And all that good stuff. But yeah, that was the episode this week. I know Slade's heart got broken with the Silksong news.
Oh yeah, absolutely tragic. No, I wouldn't say I'm heartbroken over it. It was pretty expected.
Yeah.
It's just kind of unfortunate overall, but like again, with game development times going up, like we stated at the beginning of the episode, we're probably going to see more and more games take longer to come out.
Yeah.
I only hope that it's a good thing in terms of like the game's quality.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been Byron.
And this has been Slade.
And we will see you all next week for hopefully another calm news day. So hope you all have a good day, good night, and goodbye, and say hi to your mothers, because it's Mother's Day today.
Yep, happy Mother's Day, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.